They are alive, and they are doing fine, but to you, they have to be dead. It is 2 in the morning. The house is completely silent, save for the rhythmic hum of a white noise machine and the heavy, milk-drunk breathing of the infant resting against your chest. You are exhausted in a way that transcends the physical body, bone-tired and running on fumes. And yet, your eyes are locked onto a tiny, glowing green dot on your smartphone screen. Active now. That little green circle is a psychological torture device. It tells you that the person who was supposed to be sitting right next to you, sharing the unbearable weight and the terrifying beauty of this new life, is awake. They are out there in the world. They are living, breathing, and existing, completely disconnected from the reality of this nursery. You are a parent now. Your entire biological imperative is suddenly geared toward sustaining life, nurturing growth, and building a secure foundation. But right in the middle of this intensely life-giving environment, you are sitting with a corpse. Only, there is no physical body to bury. There is no funeral to plan, no casseroles being dropped off by sympathetic neighbors, and no socially acceptable period of mourning. You have been abandoned in the absolute most vulnerable chapter of your adult life. This is not just a breakup. This is a haunting. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. It is a uniquely devastating phenomenon where the human mind fundamentally struggles to mourn someone who still exists in the physical world. As a highly invested new parent, you prepared for the sleepless nights. You prepared for the relentless crying and the overwhelming responsibility of keeping a fragile human being alive. What you did not prepare for was doing it while experiencing the acute psychological trauma of a sudden, unwanted separation. You are desperately trying to attach to your child, while simultaneously trying to detach from the person who helped create them. This creates an agonizing, almost violent friction in your daily life. On one hand, you have the profound, unconditional love you feel for your baby. On the other, the dark, bottomless chasm of betrayal left by a partner who walked away. Society expects you to be joyful. You are supposed to be soaking in these fleeting, precious moments of early parenthood. Instead, you are trapped in an echo chamber of grief, trying to make sense of a phantom limb. You reach out in the dark for a hand that is no longer there, and your fingers grasp nothing but cold air. The disconnect between what your logical brain knows, that they are gone, and what your nervous system feels, that they should be here, creates a cognitive dissonance so loud it threatens to drown out everything else. You cannot simply let it go. Your mind cannot process the sudden disappearance of a primary attachment figure without severe physiological consequences. We are taught that grief belongs in a cemetery, surrounded by flowers and finality. But what exactly happens to your brain chemistry when the ghost you are mourning is uploading photos from a coffee shop across town, and you are the only one left holding the baby? When that ghost uploads a photo, your brain does not process it as a simple digital update. It processes it as a biological emergency. To understand the sheer magnitude of the pain you are carrying, you have to look beneath the surface of a broken heart and directly into the architecture of your own neurology. Romantic attachment is not merely a social construct. It is not just poetry or a fleeting emotion. It is a primal survival mechanism, deeply embedded into your basal ganglia. When you bond with a partner, especially the person with whom you chose to bring a child into the world, your brain literally rewires itself to include them. They become a baseline for your nervous system's sense of safety. When they suddenly vanish, you do not just feel sad. You enter a state of acute, physiological withdrawal. Functional MRI scans of individuals navigating sudden, unwanted breakups show intense activity in the exact same regions of the brain that register physical pain. That tightening in your chest, the hollow ache behind your ribs, the sudden waves of nausea, that is not a metaphor. That is your vagus nerve responding to a catastrophic loss of security. Your nervous system literally cannot tell the difference between a severe physical injury and the sudden, permanent absence of your child's other parent. But for a new parent, this chemical crisis is exponentially worse. You are living inside a brutal, invisible neurological war zone. Every time you hold your newborn, feed them, or gently rock them to sleep, your system is flooded with oxytocin. This powerful bonding hormone is designed to make you soft, open, and intensely vulnerable. But simultaneously, the abrupt abandonment by your partner has caused your dopamine and serotonin levels to violently crash. To compensate, your adrenal glands are pumping out massive, continuous waves of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. You are chemically trapped between the ultimate life-affirming connection and the ultimate life-shattering abandonment. Your brain is desperately trying to build a fortress of warmth and stability for your infant, while simultaneously screaming that the walls have collapsed and the perimeter has been breached. This is the phantom limb of ambiguous loss. The neural pathways dedicated to your ex-partner are still entirely active. Your brain habitually sends a signal down the wire. It expects the familiar comfort of their footsteps in the hallway. It expects a shared, exhausted glance across the changing table at 3 in the morning. It expects the unspoken reassurance that you are a team. But instead of an answer, the signal hits a terrifying, silent void. The circuit breaks. When that signal fails to return, the brain panics. It perceives this missing attachment figure as a literal threat to your physical survival. It obsessively loops, searching for the lost person, driving you to check their social media, to reread old text messages, to look for any microscopic proof that they still exist. Your mind becomes an addict, frantically scraping the bare floor for one last hit of a drug that is slowly destroying you. Your brain is frantic, pulling every biological alarm bell, demanding you fix a fatal wound that nobody else can see. But to survive this, to actually cure the neurological withdrawal, you have to do something that feels dangerously close to an unforgivable betrayal. Because the internal alarms are ringing so loudly, you have to work twice as hard to pretend that everything is quiet. Welcome to the high-functioning facade. You are a professional. You are a highly capable adult who is used to managing crises, meeting deadlines, and solving complex problems. And now, you are applying that exact same ruthless efficiency to your own survival. To the outside world, you are a marvel of modern resilience. You show up to the pediatrician appointments with a perfectly packed diaper bag. You log into your remote work meetings with a calm, steady voice. You smile at the grocery store clerk while bouncing a beautiful, healthy baby on your hip. You look completely, flawlessly fine. But nobody sees the monumental, bone-crushing effort it takes just to stand upright. Every single mundane task, washing bottles at the sink, folding tiny onesies, strapping the car seat into the back of an empty vehicle, requires a Herculean output of emotional labor. You are operating on a split screen. On one side, you are the attentive, loving parent. On the other, you are bleeding out from an invisible wound you are desperately trying to hide. The world does not know how to handle your specific brand of devastation, so society demands that you shrink it. A breakup is treated like a temporary inconvenience, a mere bump in the road. Well-meaning friends and family members offer hollow platitudes. They say things like, "You are so strong," or, "At least you have this beautiful baby to focus on," or, "You just need time to get over it." Get over it. Those 3 words are the bricks that build your isolation. You quickly realize that mourning a living person makes other people deeply uncomfortable. They want you to be angry. They want you to be instantly empowered. Or, they want you to be completely over it. What they do not want is to sit with you in the ashes of the future you had so carefully planned. And so, you stop talking about it. You retreat into the echo chamber of grief. It is a sealed, airless room inside your own mind where the memories of your broken family bounce off the walls, growing louder and more distorted. You are completely alone in this room, trapped with the ghost of a partner who is out there living a life that no longer includes you. You are mourning someone you are supposed to just brush off. You convince yourself that silence is what you have to do to protect your child. You believe that if you just compartmentalize the pain, if you shove it into a dark box and lock the heavy door, you can shield your baby from the fallout. You become a master of the mask, burying your agony beneath a mountain of infant milestones and daily obligations. You pack away the trauma, force a smile for the baby, and convince the world you are entirely fine. But suppressed grief doesn't just vanish, it mutates. And in the quietest hours of the night, it is preparing to demand a ransom you cannot possibly afford to pay. The ransom that suppressed grief demands is nothing less than your capacity for joy. If you continue to lock the pain away in the dark, it will slowly erode your ability to be genuinely present with your child. You will spend their most formative years physically sitting in the nursery, but psychologically wandering through a graveyard, searching for a headstone that does not exist. There is only one way out of the echo chamber. To survive the devastating phenomenon of ambiguous loss, you must fundamentally change your approach to the pain. You must stop treating this like a temporary separation, a complex breakup, or a tragic misunderstanding that time might eventually fix. You have to treat it like a death. Right now, your brain cannot heal because the wound is constantly being reopened. Every single time you check that glowing green dot, every time you search for their social media profile, every time you secretly harbor the desperate thought that they will wake up, realize their terrible mistake, and come rushing back to your family, you are ripping the stitches out with your own teeth. In almost every other area of human existence, hope is a powerful, beautiful virtue. But in the landscape of ambiguous loss, hope is a poison. Hope is the exact mechanism keeping your neurological withdrawal alive. It tricks your nervous system into believing that your primary attachment figure is merely lost in the woods, not permanently gone. It keeps the internal search party running relentlessly through the night, burning through your precious emotional reserves. To save your own sanity, and to protect the fragile life of the child relying entirely on you, you must commit what feels like an act of psychological violence. You have to actively, deliberately kill the hope. This requires completely severing the digital lifeline. It means blocking them across every platform, removing their access to your digital world, and stopping the compulsive surveillance. It means permanently abandoning the search for closure from a person who refuses to give it to you. The harsh reality is that closure is a myth. It is not an apology or an explanation they will eventually hand over in a carefully worded text message. Closure is a heavy iron door you have to shut and lock yourself, built entirely out of your own radical acceptance. You must conduct a funeral for the living. Take the person you loved, the partner who stood beside you, the co-parent you believed you were building a legacy with, and accept the brutal fact that they have passed away. The individual currently walking around in their physical body, ordering coffee across town and living a separate life, is an absolute stranger. The partner you knew, the one you trusted with your future, is dead. This funeral does not require a cemetery or a plot of earth. It happens in the quiet corners of your house. It happens when you finally pack their leftover belongings into a cardboard box and get them out of your sight. It happens when you let the tears freely fall into the baby's bathwater instead of choking them back. You must allow the anger, the deep sorrow, and the profound injustice of this abandonment to finally break the surface. You must give the end of this relationship the exact same psychological gravity, the exact same respect, and the exact same intense mourning process as a literal death. Because to your nervous system, it is one. You bury the version of them that existed. You perform the silent rites, you close the casket on the past, and finally, your brain stops looking for the ghost. But once the smoke clears and the withdrawal ends, a completely new, terrifying reality emerges from the silence of your home. The terrifying reality that emerges from the silence of your home is that you are now the sole architect of your universe. When the neurological withdrawal finally breaks, the panic subsides, leaving behind a profound, unfamiliar stillness. At first, the quiet is deafening. But slowly, it begins to feel like peace. You are no longer in survival mode. The split screen of your existence has finally merged into one clear, focused picture. You are no longer bleeding out while trying to change a diaper or warm a bottle in the middle of the night. Instead, you are fully, completely present. You watch your child smile, really smile, and for the first time, the joy does not carry a heavy, bitter undercurrent of grief. It is just joy. Pure, unadulterated, and fiercely earned. The phantom limb stops aching. Your nervous system, which spent months trapped in an exhausting loop of cortisol and adrenaline, recalibrates. You learn to regulate your own safety. You realize that you did not just survive the sudden amputation of your future, you actively rebuilt the entire foundation of your life while holding a fragile newborn in your arms. You are not just a competent caregiver. You are a psychologically fortified, highly resilient individual. You walked through the absolute darkest corridors of ambiguous loss, conducted a funeral for a living person, and emerged completely whole. The high-functioning facade is gone. You do not have to pretend to be strong anymore, because the strength you forged in that echo chamber is now entirely real. And then, one day, the ultimate test arrives. You are looking at your phone. Maybe it is late at night, the baby is sleeping soundly, and a notification lights up the screen. You see that familiar name. You see a picture of them. You even see that little, glowing green dot telling you they are active now. But your chest does not tighten. Your vagus nerve does not pull the alarm. Your brain does not flood your system with cortisol. You just look at the screen, and you feel absolutely nothing. The ghost has been successfully exorcised. They are out there in the world, living their life, but they have been permanently evicted from your reality. They are nothing more than a stranger who once held a ticket to a magnificent future they ultimately threw away. They are alive, and they are doing fine. But so are you. And as you step out of the echo chamber and back into the light, you realize a haunting truth about the ghost you left behind. What happens when they finally realize the person they walked away from no longer exists?